I must admit it's been a very pleasant spring and summer so far, not running for re-election. However, people have been fulsome in their praise and listening to Tommy and others continue to throw kudos my way. It certainly wasn't me. It was everybody that has participated in this particular effort. If I had one talent in life, it was spotting talent and feeling comfortable putting good people together, not in a adversarial way, but understanding that not only were they conversant with a particular issue, but they had those skills, those interpersonal skills, that could move an agenda forward. And if I did one thing correct, it was suggest to Mark Forrest and Tom Cahir that we needed to have a task force that would design a master plan that would really bring public transportation options to the Cape. It was essential, not just in terms of the quality of life here in the Cape for those who lived here year-round, but for our economy. And you heard the increase in the number of folks using that Boston to Provincetown ferry. I think it was almost 300%. People are coming here because they now know they have public transportation options, and it means so much in terms of tourism and other segments of our economy. So as I reflect back on the 14 years I represented the Cape and the Islands, I knew for the Cape there were two particular priorities that had to be achieved. Clean the base up and create and participate in an initiative that was essential to the economy of the Cape, and that was to ensure that there were alternative public transportation systems. And boy, you have done a superb job. You know, back in 2000, one only has to view the presentation by the National Park Service. I joked upstairs that I want a copy so in my dotage I can watch it and gain a sense of satisfaction. But it is true that everyone that has participated in that effort, and it was local and state and regional officials and private citizens and volunteers that really have made it happen, that has led us to this point today where it really is celebratory, not just because the administrator has got some checks for us, although that's pretty good too. We'll take it. And we want more, by the way, Paul, just to let you know that. But in any event, I just want to extend my gratitude for the incredible effort by so many here in the Cape and the Islands to really transform the Cape and the Islands in terms of its economic development, its future, and its quality of life. So let me conclude with that, and let me introduce the Federal Transit Administrator, Peter Rogoff. He has an extremely impressive resume. He went to Amherst College. He got his MBA from Georgetown. He's a recipient of the United States Coast Guard Distinguished Public Service Award. However, there is one minor flaw. He worked for the Senate. But he knows his way around Washington, and he knows these issues as well as anyone in the United States. We're indeed fortunate today to have Peter Rogoff with us, and let me turn the microphone over to him and give him a warm welcome.
I want to thank Mr. Delahunt for the kind introduction. You know, this is one of the best parts of being President Obama and Ray LaHood's Federal Transit Administrator, when you get around the country and celebrate success. An important element of what helps us achieve our goals, especially as it relates to public transportation, is having members of the House and Senate like Mr. Delahunt who get that vision and see how that vision fits into their own community. It's been really great to hear Congressman Delahunt at the end of 39 years of public service talk about the deployment of public transportation here on the Cape and the surrounding communities be the centerpiece of what he views as his legacy. And while I'm sure a lot of people will say it many times between now and the end of the year, I just, on behalf of the President and Secretary LaHood, want to thank Mr. Delahunt for all of his years of service to the public. My first involvement with transportation policy started in the late 80s. And back then, Jerry Studs chaired what was then the Merchant Marine and Fisheries Committee. So we heard a lot about, that's a committee that no longer exists. It does not seem all that long ago to some of us, but to think that that so much has happened, especially in this region, in really a little bit more than a decade, is really a testament, as the Congressman pointed out, to the partnership of everyone represented around this crowd here in the Commonwealth. But here it goes extraordinarily well, and it needs to efficiently deal with the challenge you have. And I thought the gentleman put it extraordinarily well, a hose that dumps millions of people out on Route 6, and how we still maintain the treasure that is the Cape Cod National Seashore and keep it as a treasure in a community that's adjacent to such densely populated residential areas and cities as large as Boston. It's not easily done, and here it's been done smartly. Well, it's really been a success story, and what you're seeing here is that success breeds more success, and success could actually be a force to attract resources for yet more success. And that's partly why I'm here. I'm here in part to announce that we're granting $450,000 in additional funds for this effort, $250,000 for additional clean fuel buses, but importantly, it's not always the sexiest investment, but $200,000 for additional long-term planning, so that we can continue to plan further successes going in the future. And yes, I heard Mr. Delahunt say that we want more, and I get that. Fortunately for this region and the parks and their surrounding communities around the country, we are currently competing a new round of $25 million in grants, and that competition is now ongoing. But I just want to say that you can't belittle the contributions of all the partners. For anyone who's been involved in an effort like this, there's always the challenge of the naysayers. There's always the challenge of people who say, well, your rules don't work with our rules, and therefore we don't really have a whole lot to talk about. And the people who are really successful and get it right are the ones who recognize that the first thing they need to do is pierce through that stuff and find a way to yes, rather than take up their weekends and evenings harping on the no. And part of that involves very strong leadership at the top. And here, I know Congressman Delahunt not very well, but I know him well enough to know that no is not an answer that he was going to allow come back from the local community. And part of that is from having such skilled professionals at every level of the governance out here. So I want to commend all of them, and again commend Mr. Delahunt, and on behalf of the President and Secretary LaHood, just congratulate everyone here on your success now and your successes in the future. Thanks for having us.